Hey, what is up, guys? Welcome to the live stream. Just give me 1 second as I set everything up. I need to bring it up here on my computer so that I can actually see what's going on. I don't even know if I'm in frame right now. So, okay, here we go. Okay, so leave in the comments. Say hello. Tell me where you are from, where you're watching this live stream right now. There's an ad on my live stream, so I can't watch it. There we go. So let me know where you're from, where you're watching this from as I adjust the camera and actually make this so it's not terrible. Okay, here we go. We got people piling in. Hello, everyone. Make sure you say hi in the chat. Make sure you tell me where you are from, where you're watching this. I see we got King Mo from Brooklyn, New York. We got Koom from Greece. I see Sweden, UK, Virginia, Texas. I've seen a couple for Texas. India, Berlin, and Germany. Afghanistan, PA. Oh, PA. All right, awesome, man. Jamaica, Ohio, New Zealand. Wow, we got a lot of different places represented today. I think I see Estonia, which is awesome, which I think is Ragnar Klavan is from there, Liverpool player. We got Germany, Egypt, India, Mexico, Italy, England. There we go. Spain, another Estonia, Lebanon. All right, awesome, awesome, guys. So let me describe how this is going to work. We used to do these before, so some of you have experienced these live streams before. And essentially, well, Zimbabwe, Scotland, my dad's from Scotland, so that's pretty awesome. But how this is going to work is I have some of your questions here that you asked me on the community tab on the channel and on Instagram. So we're going to go through your questions that you asked ahead of time, and then we're going to open it up to Q&A in the chat here live, where I'm going to answer some of your questions live. So typically these will last from 30 minutes to an hour. We'll see how long it goes. It's been a while since we've done one of these, so I'm not really putting a timestamp on how long we have to do this or anything like that. We're just going to get through your questions. Hopefully I can give you some insight, answer some stuff. We can talk football. We're going to do whatever. And hopefully we can do plenty of these in the future. So I see a few people are still coming in. William, yes. So after the live stream, just so you guys know, there will be a replay. I don't know if it stays up the whole time or if it stays up for a little bit and then goes away. But it will be up for a little bit after the actual live stream. So if for any reason you have to hop off because you can't watch the whole thing, you can come back later and watch whatever part you want to watch, okay? So I'm going to get right into the questions because I actually wrote down a lot of your questions that you wrote on the community tab. We're going to discuss them. We're going to go over some of my tips, some other things I've heard that can maybe help. Then we're going to give you some, I'm going to answer that question, by the way. Is it Musta Tube? So we're going to do that, and then we'll go to your live questions right here. Where's Ronaldo? He scored 2 goals today, so I think he's coming back. Not his best season, but, they always say cream rises to the top. So here's the first question we're going to discuss today, and it's from Brandon Gonzalez, and he wanted to know how does playing indoor football help you with outdoor football? And this is actually a good question because I'm a huge advocate for things like futsal, indoor soccer, 5-a-side, 7-a-side, whatever it is. So it is 2 completely different things. When you're playing 11v11, it's a completely different game. There's a lot more space. There's a lot of different tactical things involved. But when it comes to indoor, I love indoor. I love futsal. Well, actually, indoor football is different from futsal. In futsal, you play on kind of like a more hard court, kind of like gymnasium type floor with a smaller ball, but there are indoor football pitches that actually have turf, and I play in some leagues like that where it's essentially the same kind of field you would play on in an outdoor game, but it's a lot smaller and there's less people on the pitch. And the reason I love both futsal and I love indoor football as well, either of them, is it develops your dribbling, your ball control, your speed of play. You can have a ton of shots. You get the ball a lot more. It's much more rapid. Like you can transition from attack to defense within a second. So although tactically it's not going to really help you too much when it comes to 11v11, as far as like your speed of play goes, the ability to have to pass and move quickly and beat people quickly and think quickly, there's not much better than futsal or indoor football. A lot of really, really good Brazilian players, Argentinian players, South Americans in general play futsal all the time, or they play street ball, which is, again, tight spaces, lots of tricks, lots of quick movements. You look at Coutinho, who just, what did he go for? 144 million pounds to Barcelona. He played futsal as a kid. So did Ronaldinho. I believe Ronaldo did as well. So a lot of these famous players got a lot of their skills and a lot of their quick feet from playing futsal, from indoor football. And I remember playing indoor helped me improve my skill moves so much, how fast I had to act. You know, when you beat a player, you can't just sit there because there's going to be someone on you right away. There's not that much space. You have to get used to playing in small and tight spaces. So if that's something you want to improve, and also you get a ton of touches on the ball, indoor football is beautiful. Again, tactically, I mean, I don't see how it helps you that much, but you know, every other area pretty much helps you. It'll help your fitness as well. Good way to stay fit. Then a good way to stay fit during the winter. I'm a big fan of playing all year round if you can, and so indoor allows you to do that when it's like, you know, 0 degrees out or whatever. Okay, so there we go. Let's go over to the next question, which is Gooey Penguin. We're going to go through these questions fairly quickly because I have a lot, and I want to answer your questions in the chat. And I can see some of you guys are chatting with each other in there as well. So if someone has a question and you have a good answer for that question, you have some insight to someone's question in there, feel free to answer them as I'm going through these questions as well, okay? But we will at the end get to your questions, okay? So Gooey Penguin on YouTube asked, which do you prefer, club football or high school football, and which one, and what are my experiences with it? So for those of you in America and the US, as I am right now, I know there's like a dilemma with club football and high school because they changed the seasons so where it's like conflicting, so they're at the same time. You know, when I was younger, I played club football and high school. Like I was able to do both because club would be in the spring and it would also be in the summer, and we do showcase tournaments for colleges, and high school was in the fall. But honestly, if I would take which one helped me improve more, it was my club team. Now, the reason I say that is because club teams are selective. Like, you don't just go to a club team and be like, hey, can I play? Yeah, sure, come on. You know, and a lot of high schools, mine included, you know, basically, if you could kick a ball straight, you made varsity. We weren't that stacked. You know, we barely even had tryouts just because in my area where I grew up, in the States, there were not many, it wasn't a really soccer-rich area. So there wasn't like too much going on. We had some good players, don't get me wrong, but we also had players that definitely had to fill up the numbers. And I remember my senior year of high school, it was definitely that. We had about 3 or 4 players who could play at any decent level and would even make a club team, and the rest were essentially spots that were filled up by average players. So you have to take a look. If you're going to play club ball instead of high school, you know, don't just join any old club. Make sure they're good, but really analyze it and go, which one of these teams is going to make me better? The club team I joined when I was, I think, 15 made me twice as good over a year, where the high school ball was more just I played because it was available, you know, because I wasn't not going to play. It was either that or nothing. So honestly, I know you have to choose now, but if the club is good and you've made a really good club team, that's going to help you later in your career. That's going to help you become better in the immediate future, and that's going to help you get in front of colleges. That's going to help you, you know, if you want to take steps to becoming a pro, you obviously need to play in good teams against good players with good players. So you just need to take a look, which one is better? And don't be afraid of not playing the school ball in order to play for a better team, because again, you only are going to be in school for so long. You want to be playing the best level you can possibly play. Okay? Just give me 1 sec. All right, we'll move right along here. Dasher123 on YouTube as well asked, does pace help with your ball control? No, it doesn't. I mean, it can, but it really doesn't. A fast player doesn't necessarily have good ball control. If you have a fast player with good ball control, that is a weapon, because then they can go, you know, at 100 miles per hour and still be able to control the ball. And then you get a player like a Kaká, for example, who was so quick, but also could control the ball. You get like the old Ronaldo, El Fenomeno, I can't pronounce it, but the Brazilian Ronaldo, you get him, who he was so quick, but he had such good control. But then you can take a look at other players. I'm sure you guys can think of a few who are so fast, but they lack the control. And what happens is they lose the ball often. They can sometimes catch up and maintain control. But even if you're a quick player, make sure you're working on your ball control, because it doesn't matter how fast you can run if you keep losing the ball, or you kick it out of bounds, or you hit it too far ahead. It doesn't matter how fast you are. Learn to use your pace in combination with control in order to do a lot of damage when you get the chance. But you need to work on your ball control. It's the most foundation skill in football, period. Without ball control, you can't do anything else. You can't shoot well, you can't pass well. Without having a good feel for the ball, everything else falls apart. Okay. And Josh even says, my coach is telling me off for bad ball control as I'm trying to get into a new position. Well, I mean, if your coach is telling you already that you have bad ball control and that's the area he sees you need to improve, I mean, just start really hyper focusing on that area. Make sure every single day you are working on certain ball control drills and things that are game-like that are going to help you in that situation. Someone asks, I'm a terrible juggler. How important is juggling? Juggling definitely demonstrates control, but at a certain point, juggling doesn't become too necessary. I do it like to warm up for most of my training just for fun. But I mean, you can take a look at even some professional players who aren't the best at juggling the ball, but are still phenomenal. Like I remember watching a clip of David Beckham juggling a ball in an England training and just kind of casually doing it, and it was dropping sometimes, and he didn't really care, because you're not going to be doing that in a match. But I guarantee you his ball control in general was really good. So once your juggling's at a certain point, it's not something you need to be the best at to have good ball control. You need situational ball control. You need to practice controlling the ball as it's coming at you at speed. You need to practice different game situations. So don't worry too much about juggling. I mean, if you can't even juggle the ball 10 times, yes, that's something you need to work on, because that does demonstrate poor control. But if you can juggle the ball forever without dropping it, then you don't need to, I think, focus on that in order to improve your ball control, really. Alrighty, let's keep moving along here. We're going to go to, oh my god, my handwriting is so bad. Noman, oh man, I can't read my own handwriting, man. I'm sorry. Swilwar, maybe? How old am I and which country am I from? So I'm actually 25. I've answered this one for you guys before. I'm from England in a place called Cambridge, which is where I was born. My whole family's actually British. I mentioned my dad is Scottish. And we moved here when I was pretty young, but we used to go back all the time. So my dad's from a place called Dumfries in Scotland. My mom is from Croydon in London. She's actually a Crystal Palace fan. My granddad actually played for Crystal Palace back, I think, in the 40s. So we all hail from England and Scotland, my whole family. So it's so obviously a very football-oriented family. I know I have the American accent. That's just because I've been in America for so long. But yeah, I'm actually was originally from Cambridge. Yeah, so there you go. So jail_skills asks, how often should we work on our football IQ? This is huge, because if anything, when we look at players like Pirlo, we look at Xabi, we look at Xabi Alonso, we look at all these players who maybe aren't the quickest, maybe they don't have the best skills or whatever, but they still played at the top of the game late into their 30s, and it's because of this, because their football IQ was so high. I am such an advocate for working on this side, the mental side and the football IQ side of your game, all the time, simply because it's so important, because you could have the most skill in the world. You could be one of the most skillful players in the world, but if you don't have the IQ, you haven't developed the football IQ, the smarts, and knowing what you need to do in different situations and being able to execute, then it doesn't matter how skillful you are. You'll lose the ball, or you'll make poor decisions. Like, you could have Lionel Messi level skill, but Messi's not just skillful. Ronaldo's not just skillful. Hazard isn't just skillful. They also have high soccer IQ. They know what to do in different situations. They know how to make good decisions more times than not. So when it comes to your football IQ, I mean, work on it as much as possible. Watch as many high-level matches as possible. That's an easy way to do it. We just had the weekend pass. You guys every single one of you should have been watching some of the games that were going on. Watch El Clasico when it comes on. Watch the Champions League when that's back on. This summer, the World Cup is going to be on. Watch every single game you possibly can. Take every opportunity you can to improve your football IQ by watching high-level matches, analyzing them. You can go on YouTube and take a look at analytical videos. There's a lot more channels like that popping up that will help you understand different positions, what to do in certain situations. But yeah, I'm a huge fan of working on this all the time. It's so important to develop this part of your game. All right, so we're about halfway through these, so we're going to get to your questions in the comments. Again, if any of you guys have answers for a question someone's asking in there, feel free to answer them, help each other out, all that stuff. So Fricky Dicky, which is a fantastic username, asks how to deal with hardships and rejections in football, which I think is actually the title of this. So let's go over that real quick. And here's the thing, like if you want to play at any level, really, whether you want to play on your high school varsity team, your school team, if you don't have what's called a varsity team where you are, if you want to play in a good youth team, if you want to play in college, and if you want to play, your dream is to go pro, whether at you get to pro level at a lower tier or at the top level. You're going to deal with hardships, you're going to deal with rejections, and you're going to deal, with just mistakes and failure along the way. It's inevitable. So really the best way I think to deal with these kind of things, whether it's like injury, whether it's you don't make a team, whether it's you're maybe not good enough for a certain level just yet, is one, the worst thing to do is give up. Like if you're truly passionate about this and you love playing and you want to see how far you can go, you want to get to the highest level you can, you never give up. You never start half-assing it because you missed out on a team. Look at most famous footballers. Look at many of the success stories of players that came from like the conference in England. Look at Jamie Vardy's story. There's so many stories like this of players who got rejected time and time and time again, that had injuries, that just didn't. They went through incredible hardships, maybe even off the field, like personally, only to come back and succeed. Failure is a word that has a negative connotation attached to it, and I don't like that because you need to fail usually to succeed. There's very few people that succeed in anything that have not gone through, incredible failure for the most part. Nobody I've ever looked at, researched, read about who is experiencing a life that they want in any area, whether it's football or something else, got to that point without, so much failure that would break other people and cause them to give up. So the way you deal with it is, one, you commit to keep going, you're persistent. And if you're persistent, you will ultimately, for the most part, in my eyes, achieve what you're trying to achieve, or at least get close. Persistence is the most important part. It's very easy if you have like an injury for a year to want to give up. And honestly, no one would blame you at that point. But you can, again, see people who have gone through things like that and yet still succeeded. You can see people who've been cut from team every single, like so many teams, only to end up playing at a higher level than the teams that originally cut them. So you have to be persistent. Learn from those experiences and those hardships and take away everything you can from them. So learn from your mistakes and your failures. You can take a look at why you didn't make a team, for example, and go, okay, why, instead of just blaming the coach or getting mad or upset, you can take a look at that and go, what can I take away from this? What can I learn? What area of my game do I need to work on? Someone was just telling me in the comments that his coach told him that his ball control was lacking. I mean, there's a coach directly telling you what you need to work on. I mean, your response to that shouldn't be like, oh, my coach is being mean to me, or I'm not good enough. You want your response to be like, okay, he just literally told me what I need to do. Work on my ball control, right? If you don't make a team, feel free to ask the coach, like, what is it you think I should work on so I can work on it, and then work on that thing. Now, sometimes you won't make a team, or you'll go through hardships for a different reason. Maybe the coach, like, for example, you could be good enough, but maybe the coach doesn't like the way you play or something. Maybe it doesn't fit their tactics. So you do need to differentiate between whether it's like something you need to work on or whether it just wasn't a good fit for you. But whatever hardships you're going through, persistence is going to win out almost every single time. So that is seriously how you deal with it. I know it's such a simple answer, but just try and keep your head held up high. Look for the positives in the situation. I know another really simple answer. But again, from every mistake, you can take a lesson from it. From every failure, you can take a lesson from that. You know, if you're injured, you can work on the mental side of your football IQ while you're injured, while you're going through the rehabilitation process. There's always something you can do, essentially. Okay? All right, we got, I think, 4 or 5 more here. Then we're getting to you in the comments again. Guys, don't be afraid to answer each other in there. So, okay, so this next one, I do not know how to pronounce your name. It's Dwight Doth Roy. If I butcher any of your names, I'm so sorry. I'm really bad with pronunciations. But how to play when people are watching me, and because I get nervous when I play in front of people. And I'm paraphrasing the question. But so how to play in front of people, essentially. So whether it's practice, whether you go to the field and there's people there, whether it's a match, because when you're in a game, someone's watching you. And honestly, I can understand the fear if you're not used to it. You know, for me, I've never really had that because I played my whole life. You know, I've been playing since I was so young that I just got used to it. But that's the thing, just do it anyway. I know that's terrible, like that's not like the answer you want to hear, but that's what it's going to be. So if you go to the field and there are people there, you're going to feel uncomfortable, you're going to feel that fear, but even if you feel that fear, do it anyway. You know, and after enough times of feeling the fear and doing it anyway, you're eventually going to be so used to it that you're not going to be scared of it anymore. So if you have to do it in small doses, fine, go for like 30 minutes and do it, and then, you know, go longer. But like, for example, like I'm currently just enrolled at a gym and they have squash courts at the gym, and the squash courts are like open to the whole gym. Meaning, if people wanted to, they could see everything I was doing. It makes a lot of noise, but I do it anyway because I'm not concerned about what other people are thinking of me while I'm training, right? And you just have to adopt the same mentality. You have to realize, I want to become a better player. I have these goals and ambitions, and those are more important than whatever the hell anyone else thinks of me, or anybody watching and judging me, or if I make a mistake in training, someone getting on my back. Who the hell cares, right? Just adopt that mentality, and again, that thought is, you're still going to feel the fear. But it's not about not feeling fear at all. It's about feeling the fear and doing whatever it is you want to do anyway. That's how you beat fear. Fear never goes away. It always will be there in some dose. Like maybe some days it will be a lot, some days it won't. But in some dose it will be there. It's not about never feeling fear. It's about getting comfortable with it and doing whatever it is you're going to do anyway. You know, so don't let that kind of thing stop you from training if you want to become a better player. It's not worth it. Okay, so real quick one. Neo Rex asks if I have any pets. I do. I have a cat, and I was visiting some family the other day, and they have 2 dogs, 3 cats. I've had pets like throughout my whole life. I used to have lovebirds. I've always had a cat or a dog. Always had some kind of pet. Johnny Apples, I think from Instagram, asks, is training on pavement worse than practicing on a field because I only have a pavement to work with? So this is a good question. This is I like this question because a lot of people ask me or tell me, you know, I can't practice because I don't have a facility or there's no field near me, and it's the lamest and worst excuse possible because the beautiful thing about football is you don't need that much at all. You can have a ball. You can even have like a size 1 ball that I have back there, and you can do something. Like, you don't need much. You need a ball and you need some space. You know, you can practice in your basement. You can practice on the street, not where there are cars, but, you know, somewhere like an empty parking lot. I mean, so many of my individual training sessions when I was a kid were done in a parking lot behind my house when I was a kid. You know, I didn't have... Like, you know, I know you see like maybe youth teams and academies that have these amazing facilities, and sure, that's awesome, but you don't need it. You know, many of the professional players that are pro now at the top level in poorer nations played on the street. They played street ball. They played with what they had. And you're saying you have pavement to work with? Honestly, that might be better. You know, if you have a bumpy field and you have pavement, I would rather you play on the pavement that's not going to have your ball bobble up into your knee every single time you dribble. So you got to work with what you have, and there's no excuse really not to train. There's always something you can do. Start looking for the solutions, not the problems that are preventing you from doing it, because ultimately there's always usually some kind of solution, and this is a simple one. So yes, you can absolutely practice on the pavement. It might even be better because it's faster. Your touch is going to be a little better because you're not bobbling the ball. So yes, you always can find a place to train. You do not need a field. Two more questions from Hamud Al-Rashed from Instagram. How can I strengthen the mental part of the game, my game, so that I go into a game feeling like I can do anything? Okay, good question. So there's many things you can do. Ultimately, there's no magic pill. So there's nothing I can tell you that's going to magically make you feel more confident or, feel like you can accomplish anything that you can do before a game. No such thing exists. Even professionals go into games nervous sometimes. It just is, that's fine. But what you can do is do certain things over the long term, over the long run, in order to have more confidence going into matches, in order to work on the mental side. Because the mental side is essentially, for the biggest part of it is your confidence, is your ability or your belief in yourself. Because if you don't believe in yourself, if you don't believe you can play well, if you don't believe you can play at a high level, if you're always doubting yourself, it's like a self-fulfilling prophecy. That's what's going to happen. You're not going to play well. But if you believe in yourself, in your capacity to grow, in your belief that you can actually play well and play really well and keep getting better, you're going to take that into matches. So it really starts with the way you view yourself. If you view yourself as a bad player, if you view yourself as a player who's inconsistent, if you view yourself as a player who can't be that clutch player and lift their team up in the moments where that you need to, or score the goals or whatever, if you don't see yourself as that player, you're not going to be able to move into being that type of player. You need to see yourself as someone who is capable, and you need to have confidence in your own ability. And that happens in your day-to-day, in the way you think about yourself in general. So monitor your thoughts. Like, how are you talking to yourself? Do you put yourself down all the time, or are you someone who builds yourself up? Obviously, we know which one's the better one, building yourself up. Are you someone who is ultra judgmental? Usually people who are ultra judgmental are pretty judgmental of themselves as well. So you need to pick up on these cues and start really, building yourself up. You can give yourself constructive criticism, be like, that was a mistake, I need to fix that, I need to work on that. But there's a difference between me looking at maybe some game footage of myself and going, that was a mistake, and I need to, work on this area so I don't make it again, and me going, oh my God, I suck, that was awful. There's a huge difference between the two, okay? So, how do you view yourself is the first way. Now, there are some things you can do, like visualization, which helps with your confidence. If you visualize, but again, this is an image thing. When you visualize yourself playing amazingly in matches, you're basically giving yourself this image of you being a good player. That's why visualization works. Because you visualize yourself playing so well, you start to see yourself as a good player, right? So even when you're not visualizing, try and see yourself already as that good player, or at the very least as a player who's getting better and better every single day. And that is what's going to help you come game time. Obviously, practicing every single day and as often as you can as well too. Nothing builds confidence like skill, like repetition. If you're not good at shooting, guess what will make you more confident at shooting? Working on your shooting until you are in practice and you realize, holy crap, my shooting's gotten really good because I've been practicing it over and over and over again. There's no magic answer to this. It's the simple answer you've probably heard before. And the reason you've probably heard it before, and the reason you've probably heard it more than once, is because it's true. It's truly how it happens. Okay. Last question on here. Then we're going to get to your questions in the comments. For those of you who remain, how many days from MV Unique on Instagram? How many days do I rest? So me personally, each week, and do you still play during those days, during those rest days, like a light training session? So this will vary. Typically I will take at least one rest day, at least, where I don't do too much except stretches maybe. I might go to the gym and use like a sauna or do stretches or maybe do a jog to get the blood going, but I don't do anything that could possibly tire me or put stress on any part of my body. So at least one, sometimes two. Because if I listen to my body and I feel my body out and there are parts of me that are just way too sore, or I'm feeling I need to rest a certain thing because if I keep pushing it, I'm going to get injured, or it's going to affect my training session later, in the week, I will rest. So it'll be 1 or 2 days typically. Now on those rest days, I will still sometimes do some work with the ball. I showed you guys in a recent video that one of the ball control routines I'll do to warm up. Well, sometimes on a rest day, I'll just do that routine so I'm getting some touches. It doesn't tire me out. It's not really putting any stress on my body, but it is giving me touches on the ball to maintain momentum and consistency. But again, it's not really breaking, my body down or anything. Now, there are some days as well when I don't go at all and I just need a day to just relax and just, do nothing. Those days exist as well. But the main answer is really, I would recommend at least one, sometimes two, and if you need more, take it. Listen to your body. If you need the rest, it will tell you, and take the rest. The last thing you want to do is push yourself too much to the point of injury and then be out for like 5 months, unable to do anything. I mean, which one would you rather have? Take the rest day or sustain a long-term injury? The answer is pretty obvious. So that is, how I work with it. Typically one, sometimes two, and if I need more, I take it. I'm learning more and more about how important rest is for your body. It's so important. It's one of the most important things. It's as important as your workout. Like if you work out 7 days a week and you're like, yes, the more I do, the better. That's not actually the case. It's not necessarily the case, okay? So that is it for those questions. We are 30 minutes into this, so I'll tell you what. I'm going to answer some of your questions in the chat. And do what Saram Foot is doing, where he's putting at SimplySoccer. That's cool. And yeah, I'll explain that. So he's asking about the whiteboards in the back. So I like to be as organized as I possibly can. And for some reason, I really like whiteboards because it's like it's right in front of my face all the time. So I have it in my room, so I have to look at it all the time. And down there I have some quotes. I have like a daily task list behind me. So what I'll do is I'll write down some of the tasks I have to do, and then I'll just erase them once I've done them. On that side, I have today's priorities. So my 3 priorities. I didn't write anything for today because Sunday's actually my schedule day. So I'll write them out tomorrow, or today for tomorrow. But then I'll have what are my priorities for today, the 3 main things, the 3 things that have to happen before the end of the day. Then I have my weekly goals, 4 main priorities for my week. And below that I have eventually, which are like ideas I have or long-term projects I want to get to, I don't want to forget about, but I'm not currently doing. And really this setup, you can do it any way you want. I mean, I just have my preferences. I have more whiteboards over here. I have a calendar whiteboard for habits. I have video ideas, current workout schedule. I have a cork board here. Really, you just need to find, if you want to do something like that, find what works for you. You might not need to do it like that. You may just need to make lists. I don't know what it is. But if you want, you can actually, I got this idea from another YouTuber called Improvement Pill, and he went over his setup for whiteboards. So if you go to Improvement Pill's channel after this and look up whiteboard setup on his channel or something, he'll go through it. He actually has a video on it, okay? All right, we'll do 10 more minutes worth of questions. I might have to scroll here, so when is it too late? Why isn't it always new? All right, hold on. I'm going to find a question here. Remember to keep asking because I can only see like 5 or 6 at a time, guys. Okay, how to stand out on a trial. So someone asked how to stand out on a trial, and I'll just refer you to a video because I made like 3 videos on how to stand out at a tryout. So if you go on the channel, you go to the search bar on my channel and you search how to stand out at tryouts, it'll come up. I'm losing my voice. And you can use the tips in that video. And guys, just kind of in general, you can use this. There's a search bar on YouTube channels. If you look on the channel's main page, if you hit that and like look for a topic you're interested in, I have over like 500 videos. So if you put in like, for example, I want to improve my speed. So you put speed in there, that'll come up. Shooting videos will come up. So use that tool, guys, because I know a lot of you ask about videos I've already created. Like a lot of people will ask me, can you do a video on this? But I've already created like some on that. So if you need a certain video, do that. It's a good way to see if I've made one already. Um, okay. So Jack the Power says, when I went to my trial, I didn't play with any of the players there before. Any tips to help with that? That's kind of just the nature of trial. I mean, I don't know what type of trial you're talking about. If you're talking about like a big trial where everyone is trying to make the team, or you went to a trial at a team that's already established and you were trying to make it. I mean, in general, is don't worry too much about it. Just play your game. Communicate. Make friends if you can. But obviously, especially like an open trial or a trial where everyone's trying to make one team, most people don't know each other unless like friends come or whatever. So everyone's kind of in the dark. And if you go to a trial where you're trying out for like a pro team or semi-pro and they already have a team and you're just trying out, just don't worry too much about it. Just communicate when you're on the pitch. Play to the best of your ability. Don't get worried or worked up about it because it really isn't that important. You'll develop relationships with them as you go if you make the team. You don't have to worry about that as you're on the trial. Just be cool to the people. Just be, respectful and play your game. Do everything you can to impress the coaches. Okay. I'm not sure what you mean. How do you get into school tournaments? I'm not sure what you mean by that. If you're on a school team, you get into school tournaments. So I'm not sure how to answer that for you. I'm sorry. Okay. Is there any possibility of joining a Europe club? Again, you need to get, guys, with these questions, you need to be a little more specific. Like the question, is there any possibility of joining a Europe football club? I don't know the context of that. I don't know what you're, like, what do you mean? What's the situation? I don't know. And also, it's a very broad question. Leg strengthening, someone mentioned squats. That's a good one for leg exercises. Look at plyometrics as well if you want to develop speed or burst speed. What should I do if I don't even make the easiest team to make? Okay, so something Roma, I didn't see the whole thing, but what to do if you didn't make I'm guessing you went out for a team, you thought you'd make it, you didn't. I mean, just, again, we went over hardships and how to deal with them. You're going to not make some teams. You're going to get rejected. You're going to have things happen when maybe you don't even deserve it. Maybe you deserve to make a team and a coach just doesn't like the way you play. Remember, coaches are human too. They're going to make mistakes. So the best thing you can do is just keep going, keep working. If it helps, use the rejections and the times you don't make a team to fuel you going forward and motivate you to work even harder to make the next team. Okay? Honestly, there's no point playing the victim. There's no point, I'm not saying you are, I'm just saying in general, there's no point getting discouraged about these things because it's not going to help move you forward. If you don't make a team, work your ass off to make the next one. If you have a bad training session, again, just there's no reason. Keep moving forward. Always keep moving forward. Always be persistent. Analyze as you go. Analyze and make sure you're doing the right things. But the ultimate advice I can give you to making teams and becoming better is persistence. Keep moving forward. Okay, so how do I get over a bad match and bounce back? The advice I just gave is exactly the same for this. If you have a bad match, it's the same thing. You're gonna have bad matches. I've had plenty of them. Every player, Ronaldinho had bad matches. Messi's had bad matches. Everyone has bad matches. So just realize, one, it's normal. It's gonna happen. Next is the best thing you can really do is analyze the match. So if you don't have footage, go over in your head why you had a bad match, what happened, right? Analyze your mistakes, and then try not to make them in the future. That's it. Learn from your mistakes, and add them to your training if you need to not make those mistakes anymore, and then move on, and then forget about the game. Once you've learned everything you can from the game, put it out of your mind, move on, and focus on your next one. Okay. Someone just recommended do interval workout. I don't know what the question was, but yes, interval training is a fantastic way to get in shape and many other things as well. Someone asks, I know pro level is very intense, and how do you adapt to it? So it's any high level. The higher you go, the more intense and the faster it is. Now this will vary based sometimes on country, on different things, but one of the things that I think makes pro players so good, and college players as well at a certain point, is they can play quickly and they don't make as many mistakes. That's really what it is, because you may have a player you think, how did he not go pro? And it may be he just never was able to do that because he didn't work on it. So what I would suggest, if you want to play faster, quicker, and everything, you will play the way you train. So analyze how you're training. Are you training and playing slow? Are you training and not pushing yourself and challenging yourself? So when it comes to playing faster, for example, if you're working on your passing, if you're doing two-touch, don't just control it and then casually pass it off. Control it and quickly pass it off, right? If you're doing skill moves, don't casually do it. Do it as fast as you can and beat the person. And, pretend like you are playing at a professional level already, right? If you're in your training, pretend you're already a pro and you're fighting for a contract or something. And, just do what you think you need to do at that point, okay? So play as fast as you can. Always be pushing yourself to the point where you're almost making mistakes, but you're not. Always be pushing yourself, though. And you do that over time, and you'll be playing faster and faster and faster, but you always want to be pushing yourself to play faster, right? I know a certain speed may be comfortable, and maybe you're playing at a level right now where it's too easy for you. Continue to challenge yourself, and it really will take care of it. Someone says, Dave, I'll play for Liverpool. Well, yeah, Jurgen, call me up. How to improve more if you're already on a good level. Okay, so I'm going to answer 2 more questions, including this one, which is how to improve if you're already good. And so there will be a certain point where you're a beginner and you're seeing a lot of growth, and then you start to maybe, your growth doesn't become like this anymore. It kind of goes like this. It's a lot slower. And at that point, you need to get a little more strategic with it, and you need to start, again, challenging yourself more. So maybe you're good, but you're good at a certain level. It's all about perspective. Maybe you need to challenge yourself more and join a better team. Maybe you need to train more. Maybe you need to buy a program, for example, that's going to teach you new things. Consistency, persistence are always going to be what helps you improve the most, but it's not always about how much you train, it's the way you train as well. Right? That's why I'm a huge fan of analyzing your game and determining what is it you need to work on the most. So one way, if you're good, how you can get better is look at your position and think, what could I work on to become one of the best in this position? So for example, if you're a winger, what is it a winger can do to be the most effective winger possible? And start working on those areas. Same for a striker, same for a defender, A lot of the time, if you can get really, really good at a few key areas, you're going to stand out in your position. I'm not saying neglect the other areas, but you really want to think about where you spend your time. It's opportunity cost is what it's called. If you're spending your time doing one thing, it means you're not spending your time doing another thing. So you need to determine what is the best thing I need to be working on. What is going to give me the most return? What is going to improve me more? Because there may be 2 good things you could work on, but this one's going to help you improve this much, and this one's like this. They're both good, but obviously you want to focus on that. So start determining more what you should be focusing on. Start being very deliberate with your training. For example, look at Robin, for example, at Bayern Munich. What differentiates him from a lot of other wingers is he's mastered cutting in and scoring, right? He does the same thing every single time, but nobody can stop him. Do you think that's accidental or talent? No, I watched him when he was at Chelsea. I watched him before that as well, or I've seen clips of him. He wasn't doing that. He worked at that because he probably looked at his game and went, what is the 1 or 2 things I can get so good at, the best in the world at, that will help me become an even better player and play at a high level? And he identified the ability to cut in and score, or cut in and play a teammate in, as one of those areas. And it's so simple. It's so simple of a thing, but yet he worked on it so much that, every single time he takes someone on, he's cutting inside, yet people can't stop him. So that's one way to do it. All right, so one more question before I got to get out of here. And don't worry, we're going to be doing these once a week. So we will, if I didn't get to your question today, I will try to get to it in another one. So let me see, ask those questions. I'll pick one I like. Let's see here. I might have to go searching for one. Since you're, can you please tell me? Keep asking those questions, guys. I want to get one more before I go. I want to get a good one that's going to help a lot of, most of you here. Okay. You know what? All right. So unless I can find a better one, I'll answer this one. Okay. How to? Okay, you know what? I'll answer this because two people asked the same question. Someone asked me, how can a pro deal with hate? As a leader of an academy, oh, good job. I can see that my teammates can't get over it. And someone asked how to ignore other people's opinions. So that's essentially the same thing. So the question essentially is, how do you deal with hate? How do you deal with the people who put you down, the people who don't believe in you, the people who interfere almost with your dreams and what you're trying to do? And look, I think awareness is an amazing thing. The more aware you are of why this happens and why it bothers us, the better. So the first thing you need to recognize is the reason that people do this is, I think, one of two things. The first thing is when you're chasing your dreams, when you're doing something that's good, so let's say you work your ass off to become a better player. If you're in an academy, you're probably doing that. A lot of it is born out of jealousy. You know that thing your mom used to tell you when you were, I mean, some of you might still be kids, but that thing your mom used to tell you, which would be, oh, they're just jealous. Sometimes that's actually true. People see other people trying to succeed, working hard, doing things they wish they were doing, and what's easier, to actually do the work to do what they're doing, or to just put them down and try and have them quit? Realize as you go and try and actually accomplish things, whether it's become a better player or it's succeed in any area, the people who are too lazy or don't know that they can do it or have been put down their whole life will probably attack you, because what you're doing is threatening to their ego and to their limited belief systems, right? That's why it happens. That's why if you're really, really good, you're going to get some haters. That's why, I get plenty of haters on this channel, for example, in the comments. You learn that when you learn where these people are coming from, like what their mindset and perspective is, it doesn't affect you as much, because it's coming from a place of lack coming from them. Anytime anyone is spewing hatred in your direction, it's always coming from something within them. And once you understand that, I think it's a lot easier to deal with. It has nothing to do with you, right? It has everything to do with something going on inside of them. And honestly, when I see it now, when I see someone who complains so much, or I see someone who plays the victim a lot, or I see someone who, tries to put people down all the time, even in the moment, if it's directed at me, it may feel pretty bad at first, but I'm always able to come back to the thought of, it's kind of sad. I kind of feel bad for this person, because obviously there's something going on within them that is causing them to lash out at someone else. Guys, like, life can be amazing. You can accomplish so much. You can become a great player. So don't be someone who wastes their time putting other people down. Another thing I like is, don't worry too much about competition. Think of collaboration. Don't put people down, build them up. And for the people who do put you down, for the people who make fun of you, who hate on you, whatever, just ignore them. I know it's the simplest thing, but it's just, don't worry about them, because it has nothing to do, it's not a personal attack on you. It's something coming from them. Now, you said you were a leader at an academy. So with kids, I know that can be an issue, because they may not be at the point where they can rationalize that. But, if you can just, like, for a few of them that's affecting, just sit them down and be like, it has nothing to do with you. It's just something going on with them. Just keep playing your game. Keep trying to improve. I know it can be tough. I was bullied when I was a kid, so I understand that it's tough to tune that out. But you have to ultimately recognize that, as you're pursuing what you're pursuing, as you're going after becoming a better player, that what they're saying doesn't matter. Their opinion of you doesn't matter. If someone, you're not living your life for that person. So don't worry about it. Like, it always baffles me, like, if it's a stranger, especially, like, someone on the internet's making fun of you. Who cares? Who is that person? Who knows who that person is? I'm not concerned with what they think of me, because not everyone's going to like you. Not everyone's going to react to you. Not everyone, like, positively. Not everyone's going to like what you say. And the important thing to recognize is that's fine. And don't worry about it. And once you can get over that, it really, the barriers that are preventing you from moving forward start to disappear. It's really good. So just, again, just um, just take it a day at a time. I'm not saying this will magically get better. Just every single time it happens, just work on this, okay? All right, you know what? We'll answer one more if I can find it. So I'm gonna look. I'm gonna look for one more. Um, okay. How is Messi the best in the world? Well, I mean, that's not. No one can really answer that because you would have to analyze exactly what Messi did as a kid. You would have to analyze his whole life. But if you want to know how Messi got so good, it's because he basically, you know, trained in a deliberate way, whether he knew it or not, since he was young. That's about it. You know, if you look at any person, you look at like Mozart or Beethoven, or you look at anyone who looks like is a genius of what they do, everyone thinks it's talent, but I'm not so convinced. There's a great book called Peak, which analyzes how people get to that elite level of performance, like that level of, oh, he's just so talented. And it almost every single time comes down to they were exposed to whatever it was when they were really young, and they did deliberate types of training that caused them to get to. I mean, if you watch footage of Messi when he was a kid, he was doing the same thing that he does now when he was a kid. And imagine doing that for as long as he's been doing it. You're obviously going to get amazing at it. That's just kind of how it goes. And well, Hubba Bubba, he is one. Yes and no. One, you have to understand Messi. And again, this is hard to analyze because I don't know everything about it. But all I would say is read the book Peak or read the research by Anders Ericsson. You know, Messi was doing it from such a young age. He was doing very specific things. He was trained in a certain system at Barcelona when he went there that encouraged the way he played. You know, I don't think if Messi, for example, went to England instead of Barcelona at the time when England was very rigid with its system and taught more, you know, take two touches and pass or be, you know, tackle hard. I don't think Messi would be the player he was. You know, people think it's just talent, but what if Messi was trained in a different way? What if Ronaldo was trained in a different way? These, you know, things led to them becoming better players. You really get to control how good or how bad you become, really. And that's why I'm saying what you focus on is just as important as how much effort you put in. Like, what you actually do for your training is important. It's not just I go out for an hour and train and I'll get better. What are you actually doing? What are you working on? You know? Okay. All right, guys, I think we're going to wrap it up right there. We've been doing this for 50 minutes, which is pretty long considering this live stream. So we're going to be doing these every single week, hopefully on Sunday. So, you know, if I didn't get to your question in this one, hopefully I can get to your question in a future one. Now, what you can do is we will be, again, on the community tab, which if you haven't seen that, if you go to my channel and hit community, I can post things there. I will be putting things up there about live streams, and you can ask me questions there, which I pre-select and write down to answer. But anyway, guys, thank you so much for tuning into this live stream. I honestly appreciate it so much that all of you showed up. We had 100-something people at one point, people from all over the world, which is incredible. I hope this has been beneficial. Any suggestions for future live streams, you know, feel free to contact me and let me know. Yeah, see you guys later. Thank you so much. As usual, I have to grab the camera to turn it off. So you're going to get a close-up of me as I turn this off. Lucky you. Where? Okay. I'm in low battery too. Okay, this is going to take a second. You get to look at the computer as I do it. All right, guys, take care, and I'll see you soon.